The new Volkswagen T-Roc, a name like a true SUV. But does it deserve the name SUV, or is it just a Victoria Beckham fancy schmancy city car with just a bit more of ground clearance? Here you will see the only ultimate off-road check. And how's the all-day usability? Just a Golf on stilts or a family-friendly all-road car? All of that and more, now!
Welcome to Carmania, this time at the beautiful west coast of Portugal, and with the all-new Volkswagen T-Roc. I'm Chris. Hi. But Volkswagen T-Roc, let's start with the name. What does it tell us? T comes from the T family of Volkswagen, means Tiguan, Touareg, and the Roc, well, take a look around, driving over rocks somehow, but how much this car can really drive off-road, we're going to be finding out in that in-depth review that I'm going to be doing with you together now. But let's start with the looks of that brand new car. It's a totally new segment that Volkswagen created. We've got full LED headlights, state of the art nowadays, of course. And I have to praise Volkswagen, especially the designers, because in my eyes they haven't stolen any other Volkswagen design. They just created something totally new, but still you can see that it's a Volkswagen, and that's an important fact. We have these surroundings here, and this is an LED daylight as well as indicator. But now let's check it from the side view, as there is some really interesting things to talk about. But first, you can see that we've got a lot of ground clearance, and that says that the off-road usability might be a lot better than with a Golf that has an all-wheel drive. We have the Sport edition here, so the Sport package, which comes along with red brake calipers and different rims, so special rims, as well as some stuff from the interior that I'm going to be talking about later on, as well as some stuff at the back view also later on. Let's start first with a funny fact. This car is higher than a Golf, it's wider than a Golf, and also shorter than a Golf. And the first question that the majority might be asking now is, what the hell shall I be doing with a car that's shorter than a Golf? I almost have no boot load. Let's check this out, if that is really the truth about the T-Roc. And I have to tell you, it's not automatic trunk lid, of course. We have 445 litres of boot load, and this is exactly 65 litres more than you have with the Golf, 380 litres, and that's a huge advantage. I don't know how Volkswagen did that, but maybe we have to pay the price for that with not having enough space on the back seats. And you can also skip the back seats, of course, and that looks like that, just to extend the boot load up to 1,270 litres if you've got some heavy stuff to carry. And that is one of the most positive things about the T-Roc. But besides that, if we take a look from the back view, again here, the Volkswagen designers did a good job. Still you can see it's a Volkswagen, but it's no stolen design. We've got LED backlights, and as it's the Sport package, we've got tinted backlights, so they are a bit darker than the regular edition, and we've got tinted back windows and tinted side windows. And of course, that is something that makes the car look sportier. We've 3 editions, so the basic version of the T-Roc, which is just a T-Roc, then our Sport and Style package. This also has 17-inch rims, only a bit different, and no red brake calipers, no tinted backlights, and no tinted windows. You can also have an R-Line design coming up in 2018. And as you can see, the car has 2 colors, this and that. You have the choice between 10 exterior paints, as well as 4 colors for the roof. And let's go quickly through the color wall that you can see here. And the color wall tells you, or shows you, what kind of possibilities you have with the color combinations between roof and exterior paint. 24 possibilities, as you can see with these models. And this is the wall for the leather seats. And depending on the color that you take for the exterior paint, you have in the seats, so The color continues in the interior with the seats. So now let's check it out from the interior. Especially I'm really curious about the space on the back seat. As we know, it's shorter than a Golf and has more boot load. So what about the back seats? Let's check this car out from the inside. So the first thing, as we're discovering now, it doesn't have less knee room than a Golf has. I'm sitting behind myself, so that seat got set to my size. And okay, the knee room is maybe the maximum now for me, but the headroom is impressive because you could be a lot taller than me without even touching the roof with your head. And this is because Volkswagen has done it a really clever way. They did a hollow here, because here it's lower than here. And even if you take the sunroof, what we don't have with this model, unfortunately, you have a hollow here, and that makes it possible even for taller people sitting on the back seat and not even touching the seat that much with the knees. We've got some storage space here, maybe for a half of a litre bottle, a bunch of boot load. So though the fact the Volkswagen T-Roc is shorter than a Golf, I don't know how Volkswagen did it, but they did it. So it's a good overview catching the eye, but also, and unfortunately, lots of hard plastic. As you can hear me knocking on these plastic parts, doesn't matter where I do it, it's everything hard plastic. This is something that you can't find in the Golf, because at least here, maybe it's soft touch, and in that case, it's not. So it's really hard plastic. But that doesn't mean that the car isn't modern. As you can see, we have a huge center screen and digital instruments. The center screen isn't exactly what you can find in a Golf. This is an 8-inch screen, and in a Golf it's 9.2 inches if you ordered it as a Cover Pro nav. In that case, this is the biggest one. But I have to be honest, I'm not missing something bigger than that. And we've got two physical classical buttons that survived in the Golf. It's everything touch on that new facelift surface. But also not bothering, because here you can zoom in and zoom out, for example, and that's quite practical, because a touch surface is always something that you have to search for. And the digital instruments, many setting possibilities, many options that you have. If you want to know more about that, then you just have to click on top right and get forwarded to my video about the Golf 7 facelift, where I'm explaining everything about the digital instruments and the gesture controlled nav. Then also different to the Golf, besides the hard plastic, is something more positive. It's the trims. As you can see, this is grey. You also have the possibility to get this in yellow and orange if you'd like to have a more playful and colourful interior, just to bring more life to your interior. But if you like it the more classical way and maybe more elegant, then you can choose between grey and black, just not for having it that much exaggerated. And then everything, like you can see it here, is not grey, then it's yellow or orange or blue or red. We have aluminium pedals because this is a sport package, and it's the tinted black backlights, tinted back window, side window, brake calipers, and the different rims, and the aluminium pedals that you have, and look much better than the regular black plastic ones, to be honest. So even if you have more individual setting possibilities with the colors, if you take the style package, I'd go for the sport line. This is a 2-litre TFSI 4-cylinder with 190 horsepower. Right now, at the moment, this is the top version of the T-Roc, and I have to be honest, it's surprisingly quick. If you're driving in a sport mode, just like we do it now, it has a quick reaction time for shifting back if you hit the accelerator pedal, just for having the perfect rev and of course the perfect possible power output. And at least finally you don't feel these hits in the back on potholes. It's so smooth that you're sliding, so it swallows the potholes, and that's a new kind of driving behavior. It's a bit like a GTI that got put up and put higher, and it really makes fun of driving it on these curvy roads, on these beautiful curvy roads here in Portugal. And it's stable, it's reliable. The chassis, though it's higher, is not spongy, so you still feel like in a GTI maybe a little bit. And of course, the suspension, so the chassis is even adaptive. So that means that if you're driving in a sport mode, it's not just the steering that's harder, it's even the suspension. And of course that helps you having a lot more dynamical driving on roads like these, for example. The car needs 7.2 seconds for accelerating from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, so 62 miles an hour, and like that, it's only a second slower than the GTI Performance, which is quite an impressive performance data thanks to the all-wheel drive. At higher speeds, it's of course a bit slower then. In the sport mode, you're not missing anything. The only thing would be that I would like to have a bit more lateral support on the seats, because I can feel myself being thrown from the left to the right when driving the curvy roads. If you're not that dynamical driver and you also okay with less, then you can have a 115 horsepower version coming from a 1 litre 3-cylinder. I'm not joking. It's really 1 litre of displacement, 115 horsepower. So if you'd like to drive uphill like here, you're going to be disappointed. It's definitely more the city car for a relaxed city driving, but this definitely wouldn't be my choice. But you can see how that, look at that, how stable it is. Even if you hit it around the corners, it makes lots of fun. These curves, take a look at that, how stable it is, really. So coming back to the engines, if you want to have something in between, then even the diesel might be a good solution for you, coming along with 150 horsepower, a 2 litre 4-cylinder, and even a bit more torque, as we know it from the diesels, than this one. 340 newton meters instead of 320 that this one has. Less fuel consumption, of course, even a bit less driving performance, of course, as 40 horsepower still missing, but even 8.4 seconds accelerating from 0 to 100. So these little cars are really surprisingly quick, independently from which you take. And then coming up, some additional engines in 2018 is going to be 150 horsepower 1.5 TFSI petrol version and 190 horsepower diesel, so that you can have every engine as a diesel or as a petrol version, and of course that extends the offer of the T-Roc. If you drive it on normal roads, not like now, just on highways or country roads, I think the T-Roc 2.0 TFSI 4-cylinder is totally fine with 7 litres to 100 kilometers. If you drive a bit faster and a bit uphill like now, you can count with 10.5 litres, which is really okay for that driving fun that you get with the all-wheel drive. And it's almost for sure, as I have talked to Volkswagen, that there's going to be an R version with almost 300 horsepower, the engine of the Volkswagen 7 Golf R, and in that case a bit less horsepower, so I think between 280 and 300, something in between, and hopefully even a bit less hard plastic, because if you buy the R version, I think a fully optional one would be even easily, I think, about 50,000 euros, and then I don't want to have that much hard plastic. The assist systems, again, an advantage of the modular system that Volkswagen has. So if the Golf has something, mostly the other models like the T-Roc have it as well. And we know that the Golf has a bunch of attractive assist systems, starting with the lane assist combined with the active cruise control, blind spot warning that this car, for example, doesn't have now as an option, then the emergency city brake, the pedestrian detection, as well as the automatic parking that might be helpful in bigger cities. And especially the lane assist with the active cruise control is something that really helps you. I experienced that when driving from the airport to the hotel here in Portugal with the T-Roc, and the lane assist with the active cruise control definitely gives you really relaxed driving, so you don't even have to do anything, because just like with the Golf, it corrects your driving, so it takes over the steering, but after 20 seconds you have to put your hands back on the steering wheel just to make sure that you're not asleep. One of the first things catching my attention when I got in that car was that experience shifter that you maybe can see from this camera. And I was asking myself, is this really an experience shifter, or is it something to impress your neighbour when he looks through the window and he's not so much into cars and says, oh, that's an experience shifter with a mountain on it, so that means this might be an off-road car. Well, we don't know, and that's why I'm going to be watching out now for a place to drive a bit off-road. I just found some. Just get prepared for some shaky pictures. Okay, so that's the first part. We're driving a bit uphill, but not that much. The car's behavior is nice, and now I'm switching to the off-road mode. And now, immediately you can feel the suspension being a lot softer, but of course a street like that isn't now that much challenging, because any car with a bit more ground clearance could almost face this. We have 4 different modes. It's ice, normal roads, off-road and off-road with snow. And I'm really curious what this does. I can see over there, there is a hill, really steep. Oh, it is. It is really steep. It might be even a lot steeper than you think it is from the camera. Maybe you can't see it, but I'm not really sure if I shall be just driving up that hill, but let's give it a try. So we're in the off-road mode, and now let's drive up there. Deeply impressed, ladies and gentlemen. Now we slowed down a bit, but you can accelerate immediately, so it doesn't even mean a problem to this car if you stop on that steep hill and accelerate again. Well, that was just like nothing. Okay, we drove uphill. Now let's try the opposite, downhill. And of course it might be a bit slippery because we've got some sand on it. But now, oh, look at that, it takes over the pedals, so I don't even have to do anything. Look at that. Can you see my knees? I'm not just pushing the accelerator pedal or the brakes. I'm not doing anything, and the car just brings me down that hill reliably. I don't have to do anything except the steering. That's fantastic. Man, that's fantastic. I'm in the off-road mode. If you're not brave enough, you could also accelerate a bit if you want to drive faster, but it still hits the brakes and regulates. You can really feel how it regulates the different wheels just to put the power where it's necessary, and that's really impressive. And if you're driving a bit faster, you can use it as an off-road car. Take a look at that, like on the Safari. And that car is really impressing me, and this is something where I tell you that the other competitors look old. The prices for the T-Roc start at €20,000. This is really attractive, but that's the 115 horsepower 1 litre 3-cylinder. If you'd like to have more, then you have to pay more, of course, and the petrol version starts at €30,000 and 32 for the 150 horsepower diesel. But to put it in a summary, the car is really agile. It's really sporty, surprisingly sporty, but also really family friendly. It's really silent at middle range speeds, so there is actually nothing that I could say negative about this car except too much of hard plastic in the interior here. But besides this, the design is unique and outstanding. It's an eye-catcher. Then of course the bunch of assist systems that this car has, and that terrific off-road usability. Well, that was the biggest surprise, to be honest, where you see that it's not just an all-wheel drive, it's an intelligent all-wheel drive. You can really use it as an off-road car if you like. So thumbs up for that car, and please thumbs up for that video if you like it. Forward it to everyone that you know. Leave us some comments what you think about that new segment of cars, crossover utility vehicle or mini SUV. And please don't forget to subscribe. This is Carmania here in Portugal. I'm kind of sad that this video has come to an end. I'm Chris. Thank you for watching.